let's dive into a more problematic zone, I'd say.
Sat Siri, Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad, wahai guru. Sat
Oh,
Siri,
my bad,
Siri
it's not on.
akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad, wahai guru.
As well as you have the mix knob over here, which would then mix the signal pre-compressor and after the compressor. At 50%, it will give you the compressed and undercompressed vocal. And so this parameter lets you do that. But also what's important is the wet setting gain level is based on the outputs of the channel 1 and channel 2 compressor, and the dry is based on the input. So when you turn the knob and the signal gets louder on dry, that means you have to reduce the incoming signal. And if it's louder on the wet, that means you have to reduce the output. So what I like to do is I like to set these first so that the dry wet knob feels the same, just gives you that effect. And it works if it's digging too much into the signal. I'll just ignore the balance between these two and I'll just kind of do what I need to do. And then if I need to decide on the setting with the wet dry mix knob, I'll just then compensate.
Sat Siri, Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad, wahai guru. Sat Siri, Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad, wahai guru. Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad. Sat Siri, Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad, wahai guru. Sat Siri, Siri akal, Siri akal.
Now, if we turn the guitar on and we'll just work our way with the vocal, we'll just try to set it together with the guitar. That was also recorded with the 610B into the 1176 LN, so they share the dynamics, but the vocal is undercompressed, hence that's why we're doing this.
Sat Siri, Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad, wahai guru. Sat Siri, Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad, wahai guru. Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad. Sat Siri, Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad, wahai guru. Sat Siri, Siri akal, Siri akal, makal, makal sa tanam, akal murad, wahai guru. Siri akal, Siri akal, makal.
And one last step, for us to see how it affects the sound, we're going to need to render it out hear it at the same time and then compare how the waveform shape looks like before and after. This is before, and now let's quickly commit and check it out.
Sad city, city aka, city aka, maka, maka sa tanang akamura, waheguru. Sad city, city aka, city aka, maka, maka sa tanang akamura.
Now, as you can see, the dynamics, if we overlay it, let's just make it, I don't know, this color. Actually, no, let's make it purple. So if we overlay it onto the original, you can see what had happened over here. And all the peaks have been actually reduced into a good and a really balanced waveform. If we render Pro Tools to show all the waveforms in RMS, then we pretty much get the same RMS, very close to the original. Let me just fold this back down. So we have a good, healthy RMS level, much more consistent than the original. Or actually, you know what? We'll just do it the other way around, like so. So we can see that the original audio has, and to remind you, this is an RMS waveform way that it shows you. So yes, we do have a little bit of energy in some parts, but it's inconsistent. That's why we needed a compressor in the first place. So if we flip it back to a peak waveform, then we can tell that it definitely is a huge difference. Of course, the peaks here, they're actually sibilants, and it doesn't have to do much with the microphone. It had to do more with how the singer sang and the positioning to the microphone. This actually was a demo recording. We did not finalize the recording. This was like a test drive for the musicians to see the studio and just like a friendly conversation. So yes, this is sibilance and the sound of it is there, but if we just perceive it as just peaks and not much of it, then the compressor works beautifully reducing those. So what I hear when listening to the original recording in yellow, that it could never get balanced enough, because if we balance the whole signal to the parts that are here, so that it's balanced to the guitar, then once the peaks hit too hard, it's gonna pop out. And then you could go, oh, okay, so let's balance it to these parts, the loud ones, and then we set it in the mix. That would actually mean that if we reduce it like that, you know, to match, kind of, you know what I mean? Then this will become a little bit too quiet. So actually, there's no way of balancing it and feeling healthy about it, because if you put it low in the mix, it's gonna be not enough in one spot. If you put it high in the mix, it's gonna be the opposite situation. That's why we use compression. And if we flip back to the purple part, which is the after the processing, then this makes total sense. Now, when you level it to the mix, you can set a perfect setting and it would not jump out or be buried in the mix.
Sad city, city aka, city aka, maka. Sad city, city aka, city aka, maka. Sad city, city aka, city aka, maka.
So this is the compressor. I like how it sounds. It really sounds great. The controls, let's just get into the technical parts of it, okay? So this works great. It becomes a stereo unit or a dual mono unit or a left channel controlled unit, but I won't touch that. As well as you have the mix knob to do whatever magic you need to do. It has a sidechain filter so that the compressor does not react to frequencies below 300 Hertz at max. This is how you switch it off. Over here, you have an effective resistance control that makes the signal a little bit more modern, more loud, or a little bit less modern, a little bit more vintage, and a little bit more quiet. That also affects how the compressor intakes the signal and how the VU meters react. The ratio can set how deep it dives into the signal and how much it actually compresses. And you can also, by the way, you can also use all buttons in, or you can use any combination, not only single one or all of them. You can have it like 12 and 4 to 1, or you can have 4 and 8, or 12 and 8, or even like 20 and 4, or even like 20 and 12 and 4. It works similar as the all buttons in mode, just a little bit easier. Doesn't squash the signal too much. And then the true bypass, it effectively bypasses the entire unit, confirmed via smart app that I used. And so the attacks, they have a clickable off button so that you can use it as a saturation box with a fat saturation in there. And release controls how fast the signal gets unclamped. And again, the inputs, they affect more the dry part of the signal when it's fully dry. If the loudness is different from here to here, you just have to take the wet as the outputs and the dries as the inputs, just balance it out. And then once you do it, set whatever setting you need, set whatever compression you need, and then you will get what you pay for eventually. Okay, so to recap a few more moments about it, over here you have VU meter needle control. So once you set all the parameters to like 12 o'clock, that's how they say you should do it, and then you set the setting to a 4 to 1, and in gain reduction mode, then pretty much you set the needles by using a little screwdriver flathead over here. I mean, over here it's a little bit not perfect for me because I didn't do it, but it's doable. What else is you have an input gain shown as a +8, +4, and you have an off. That's it. Now we need to tackle the not so good about it moment and why I've decided to go with another unit. I don't want to bash on the company Warm Audio. I think they're great. I just think they're inconsistent. I did own a Warm Audio WA73-EQ model when I lived in LA, and now when I'm back to Moscow, I have another one like that from a newer batch. I have no problems with it, although there are two small differences about it. But this is a video about a different device, which is now owned by me, Warm Audio WA76-D2, which is a 2-channel. And the purpose of getting this unit for me was to tackle the compression on the musicians that don't have enough. This is the exact reason why I wanted an additional compressor for my vocal chain, an optional one, which would make a multi-stage compression because when the singers are too dynamic, sometimes when they're loud, the compressor clamps too much, and when they're quiet, it's just not enough. So I wanted to be able to lightly, with the mix knob at about 50%, control naturally the highest peaks to where it's just quick attack and release, and at 50%, right? And like minimal amount on the absolute loudest parts. And then the secondary will be a little bit more of a soft compressor, although fat compressors are notoriously fast. The attack is sub 1 millisecond, so it's fast anyway. But at 50%, when you have the undercompressed and overcompressed, they become merged together, and so it doesn't lose the fidelity, doesn't lose the naturalness of the vocal, but at the same time it gives you a little bit what you need. And then it'll follow to my main workhorse, the 1176 LN Revision D from Universal Audio themselves, the manufacturers and the company behind this device. After all, they were the pioneers with this very device that now had been cloned by Warm Audio. And don't get me wrong, I do like this unit, but why have I decided to let it go? Although I have it only for one day, and in about 30 minutes I'm off. I need to take it out of the rack, put it back in the box, and drive back with it. So what is my issue? So first use case scenario, my vocal chain, which is mono, and I use the compressor 1 and 2 in parallel, which is perfect what I need, and it does work great. Secondary use case is to use it for mastering. Yes, a fat compressor for mastering, but if you take a close look at what it says limiting amplifier. So by limiting, it means it's a limiter. It is. So I wanted to give it just a touch of that soft limiting before it enters my mastering chain. And as well, it's an amplifier. That means that it has a little bit of that saturation, which is also desirable, you know, not in a saturator definition by any means, but it does inject some of its magic Cinemac transformers that are made in California, Simi Valley, California. Anyway, the problem with this unit is that channel 1 and channel 2 are a little bit imbalanced. So I cannot use it for mastering purposes. I mean, I can, but there's an inconsistency that will definitely be inappropriate for mastering tasks. It's showing a few problems that are definitely not what I want to live with having this unit, and so I've decided to let it go because of that reason. The quality control of Warm Audio is kind of lacking a little bit, and so I got me an SSL Bus Plus, but because I use it for mastering mostly, it never gets to my head that, oh, here it is, I'm gonna use it instead of this unit. And it's a very, very versatile unit, very versatile. It has so much more. I will have a video on that as well, but right now I'm just letting y'all know that, like, what will I do if I let the WA76-D2 go, and I will just use the SSL Bus Plus, which is wonderful. It has tons of options, as well as the threshold, which WA76-D2 simply does not have, because it's a compressor of a 1176 type and the threshold is fixed. Therefore, you need to increase the level of the signal to reach into the threshold so that it starts folding up. And so if I want to change that behavior of the threshold, I need to play around with the in and the out. And it's not perfect if I want a repeatable setting every time. So my conclusion, it's a great device. It has a good sound. It's well built. Is it perfect for, is the dual channel or single channel perfect for vocals, for one mono vocal, one channel? It is. It's perfect. And the inconsistencies between channel 1 and channel 2, they don't play a role in it. Does it sound musical? Absolutely. Does it have great attack and release? Yes, it does. Do the sidechain filtering and wet dry mix, do they play well? They do. I mean, I have nothing to say bad about it. Although the VU meters are very tiny, even smaller than my 1176. So it sounds great. Does it sound exactly the same as my Universal Audio 6176 counterpart being 1176 LN? Not quite so. Maybe 90-95% there. So I think it's not a faithful recreation of 1176, but it's very, very damn close, and it's much cheaper. So if you really want to get that 1176 style compressor in this unit, I totally recommend you getting it. You could also take a look at their A revision, which might sound a little bit more juicy, front forward, a little bit, I guess, more hissy or distorted maybe, but that's some pleasant distortion. I used to have a Blackline Audio 1176 Bluey. It's also one of those 1176 units that has a wet dry knob, as well as this one, as well as Wes Audio NG, which is next generation 1176, but that unit also has some software recall, and it's expensive. So as for now, I'll start packing this unit back up. I hope the rec screws did not leave any marks. But I will be getting something else. Not a compressor, but something to do with dynamics as well. I think that unit is great, and that's a topic for another time. Peace.